roadmap. This is our deal walkthrough number two. So let's get into this. So the deal number two here is actually a 6-unit with a commercial lot, and then there was also what was supposed to be a bank attached to it. I put bank in quotation marks like that, and I'll explain to that in a little bit. So let's dig into this thing. So property basics, it was 315,000. Price point, it was listed on MLS, so I'd reached out to my agent who had sent me, just has me on the automatic loop, and this was sent to me because it was an area that I know decently well, and the price for 6 units was fairly reasonable, $50,000. I figured with some of the rents that they listed that if you could get it for just a little bit lower than that, you might be able to get a deal. So like I said, it was six units. There was 5 apartments, 3 1-bedroom, 1 2-bedroom unit that you could, the upstairs one you could frame out, potentially become a 3-bedroom in the future, and then another 3-bedroom apartment. So the 3-bedroom apartment was vacant, and then the commercial space, which there was one traditional commercial space, which was like used to be, I think, like a State Farm type office. So it was a little office for something like that. So like a local insurance, anything like that you could put in there. So that one, the commercial space and the 3-bedroom were vacant at the time of viewing it. And then, like I said, from the outside, if you look at this bottom picture, you can kind of see the drive-through at the bottom right of the bank. But turns out this bank was just being used by M&T as a drive-through, and all there was this little bank room, maybe 200, 300 square feet, and then the window to outside. So there wasn't actually, full functioning bank, and kind of a weird space now that the bank's not there and not using it anymore. And another thing about the property is there's one main building here. So it had the commercial unit down here, and then there was, I think, three apartments in this building. And then they had this other building right here, the smaller building right beside it, on the a lot right beside, and that had 2 smaller apartments in it. And there was also extra parking behind the bank that the business behind them was using for some extra parking for their business. So they were getting about $350 a month to rent that out. Overall, it was kind of outdated. Most of the units were outdated, like as you will see, but they were all in good shape. The bones of them were pretty good. Jeez, dog just knocked over one of my lights. But so let's dig into this. So the 2 business plans you could kind of do for this one. The first one would be more of a cash flow play. You'd rent out the vacant units. So 3-bedroom is what's shown here. The main floors had nice floors. But then the upstairs had this ugly carpet that you probably want to switch out. It wasn't in bad shape. It just was old and outdated. And the kitchen actually wasn't in too bad a shape. I'd probably just paint the cabinets, put new hardware on, and then call it a day for that. Maybe find a creative way to use the bank space. So if you could, I don't know what you do, like somebody that could do like maybe a tiny food truck thing in there that you could get like $200 a month. I know the tubes that you would send out to the drive-through people will still work perfectly fine. So if you could find a creative way to use that'd be pretty funny. Like a burrito shop or something that sends the burritos out via those like bank tubes, the teller tubes. So that'd be kind of cool, but that'd be more of just like a, added bonus if you could rent that space. And then slight increase in the rents. They're all, even though they're not updated, they're all really low. So you do a slight increase, just get them up to a reasonable level for all the units that already had tenants in them, and then just basically hold for cash flow. And then as people move out over time, you'd renovate them like you'd want to do, and then just refinance a couple years down the road when the value appreciates just through market appreciation. pull some money out of it. And the rents would be up at that point as well. So you should be able to get a little bit more. Maybe not pull out all your capital, but pull out a good chunk of it, and then just kind of keep doing that every couple of years. Business plan 2. These are a couple of the kitchens that are pretty outdated. Using the units for part of the bedrooms for storage. In the one picture. So what business plan number 2 would just be a major value add. So you'd be doing full renovation to get the market rents. So you'd be doing like new vinyl plank flooring, painting, new kitchen cabinets, or at least painting them and replacing the hardware. And then, new appliances, update the bathroom a little bit, all that kind of stuff. And then goal would be for that is you'd renovate the vacant units first, and then either renovate the other ones as the people move out, or just when their lease is up, so you can place a new tenant in there at the higher rate. And then refinance in 18 to 24 months and pull your cash out, pull all the cash out 100%, hold for the 5-year term of, since it's a 5+ unit deal, you would get the commercial loan, which typically will be 20-year AM, 5-year term. So you'd have to refinance again in 5 years. And then at what point you would just refinance again into another commercial loan and just hold for cash flow. So break down the investment needed for each plan. So some of the things that you would have to do in both of them, there was a sidewalk issue that the borough was bringing to their attention that they needed fixed, and they had a quote for it about $6,000. In the small commercial unit, the bathroom, just the wall of the bathroom was totally destroyed, and you would just need to update that, kind of wall it out, update some of the things in the bathroom so that commercial unit could be usable again. In the 3-bedroom that we touched on, you'd replace that ugly carpet upstairs, paint the hardware and cabinets, and then just some miscellaneous outside work. So that includes some of the gutters and fascia that needs updated. So the renovations would come to $11,200. On the other side, you do all that same stuff, and then you would renovate the 4 other units for $12K a piece per unit due to the full renovation, and that brings you out to $59,200. So, big jump. It's a $48,000 difference in the full reno, and that's the other 4 apartments minus the 3-bedroom that we have listed here. So the acquisition purchase price $315, loan amount 75% of the purchase price, so $236. The down payment you would need is $78,000. Closing costs about 5%, another $15. So you would need $94,500 to purchase property, and then with the renovation, that puts you for the business plan 1 at $105,000 needed up front, and then for the one where you're doing the bigger renovations, you need almost $154,000. So here's the projections for plan 1. So for plan 1, I have the rents over here. For the commercial unit, it was running at $700, so I just kept that the same, which I usually do for commercial units. Unless there's a big value add there, it's just safer to get somebody in there, especially at this time. For the 1-bedrooms, I had a bump from $545 to $650, which is like a modest bump. Still really low for the area, but with the, none of the updates, like I said, that'd probably be reasonable. 2-bedroom up to $675 without the updates, and then a 3-bedroom. Since that one didn't really need a ton of updates, and we were doing just slight update to it, you could get $950 for the 3-bedroom. So here's a breakdown. This is what you do. You do a breakdown on the profit and loss, do the income minus the expenses to get you a net operating income. So kind of run through this. Up here is the annual income increases and annual expense increases that we factor in each year. That's pretty self-explanatory. For this one, since we're not doing a big renovation, I put basically the stabilization period or renovation period at 1 year. So that gets me up. Then in year 2, you'll be at the top. Starting year 2, you'll be at the top of the rents. So here's the current rental information I broke down, and then each year it goes forward. That's what you're going to be projecting out. So for income, There was the rental income if you give the rents out, 43,320. Other income is $350 a month by 12 months for the parking that they're renting out. And then the 12% with the high vacancy at the moment with 2 units vacant, I use a 12% vacancy rate, which is high. And that gives me a gross income of 42,321. And then for taxes, this is the listed on the tax website for the taxes for last year. Insurance, this is what 3,400 was what the current landlord was paying. I could probably get that a little bit cheaper, but I plugged that in there. If worst case scenario, you could always just assume his insurance. Property management is 10% of the income you produce, income you bring in. Maintenance, I put in 3,600. So that is 6 units times $600. And then capital expenditures, which is big ticket items, that is $300 per the 6 units. So that's kind of middle of the road for both of them. For maintenance, I usually do 500 to 800 a month per unit, or 500, 800 a month per unit per year, depending on how old the building is, how rough it is. And CapEx, I usually do 200 to 400 per unit per year. So I kind of went middle of the road with those. Contract service, that'd be for lawn, snow. They got some parking lots there, and some grass patches. So, that, and probably need some pest control as well in the basement, termites, stuff like that, just to keep them away. And then other miscellaneous expenses, just the borough expenses. And then for utilities, there was just a common area electric, and then the water and sewer I just lumped those in together, so they were 2,400. That gives you expenses of 26,000. Expense ratio, which is the 26,000 plus the expense for the vacancy, and then divide that by the income, and you get a 65% current expense ratio, which is super high. It's usually 55, it's maybe even 45% if you're lucky. So if you see one that high, there's definitely some area for improvement. And that gives you net operating income with business plan 1 at 16,250. And then as you can see, it starts at about 200. As you're working through it, it starts at about 24,000. And then by year 5, it's up to almost 28,000. So that's for plan 1, the minor plan, not any big renovations. So for plan 2, the big changes here are take 2 years to finish the project. And then the rents here for the commercial, I kept it the same. For a nicely renovated 1-bedroom for the area, you could get $750. The 2-bedroom, you'd be able to get $925, and the 3-bedroom, you'd be able to get $1,050 per month. So bringing your total rental income for the year up to $59,000. And the other things, like I said, 2-year stabilization, that's different. I bumped the vacancy rate up the first 2 years, because you'll be renovating, maybe you'll be evicting people when their leases come up, so you'll see higher vacancy there. And then once you get all the renovations done, I put it back down to 8%. All the other expenses basically stay the same. So you start out a little bit lower here, about 23,000. But then once you get everything up and all the market rates up, you see you get up 20, 29, 31, 32, 33. So significantly higher NOI than plan 1. So the financial summary and outlook, using 8% exit cap rate for this property. With you renovating everything, you could probably actually get in 7%, maybe 7.5%, a couple years down the road, but it's safer to budget at a little bit high just to be safe. And that basically will take the NOI divided by 8%, and give you, the price for the property. So that's how you work the cap rate. So the lower actually brings the price up, as opposed to, so a 7% cap rate would actually project the price significantly higher than 8%. So it's better to be a little bit conservative there. For plan 1, cash flows and ROI is significantly negative the first year, and then slowly builds up. But even here, 7,000, and the ROI, since you have to put a decent amount of money in it, is getting up to 7 is not very great. And then IRR if sold is the big one to look at to tell you really how the property would perform. And 1.2, then 6, 9. Typically, I'd want to be at least 15 in these. Usually closer to 20 is what I aim for. So that's not good. And then here's another one to look at: money returned. If you refinance in year 3, you only get 27% of the money that you put in the property return. So you'd still have a big chunk of that still in the property, which isn't preferable. I like to pull out all the money that I put in if possible. So if we look at plan 2, kind of the same thing for ROI. It gets up a little bit higher, but still not good. Year 4 and 5, I'd probably want to be more in the 12%, 13, 14%, especially with the first year being negative and first 2 years being so low. So, and then the IRR, like I said, at the year 7, you're finally getting up to 12, but that's nowhere near where you need to be, and you can only pull about 55% out with a cash out refinance in year 3. So it looks like a no-go for either property at $315,000. So like I said, here are the takeaways. Neither plan works at $315,000 purchase price. I did use the conservative 8% exit cap. So if you do, which is kind of a bad thing to get into, is just lowering the cap rate until it kind of trying to make a deal make sense. Then probably at like 7, it maybe starts to make sense, but then you're pushing it, especially with the current market. You don't want to be just putting in a high cap rate so your numbers on the spreadsheet look good and then get into a bad deal, and you can't get that price when you do go to exit in a couple of years. Now this property does have a couple bonus opportunities. Like I said, the creative use for the bank space. So if you can get that, let's say you could rent that to some sort of food truck type place where they can install like a little bit of food stuff in there and then just serve it from the window. And if you got $200 rent a month at the 8% cap rate, that would add $300,000 in value to the property. So it is a big value add if you can get somebody in there. It'd probably be a pain, and you probably have to get pretty creative. And then also the 2-bedroom, if you renovate that and then just wall in on the second floor of that apartment, wall in another bedroom upstairs, you could have a 3-bedroom and then get another $100 or so in rent a month, which is, if you just think half of this $100 in rent, you're adding 15,000 just by adding that. So I ran some numbers, and then at about 250,000 to 260,000 is when it kind of becomes a deal. So then you get in that range, you're getting 18 to 20% IRR at year 3, 100% of capital return with a refinance in year 3. And maybe just with the current economics, we got a rough economy right now, heading into a recession, most likely, inflation high, just people worried with interest rates hiking up. There's some fear surrounding that. So it'd still be worth probably putting in an offer at 250 and just seeing what you get. You never know. It's been on the market for maybe a couple of weeks now, so maybe they're not getting any bites. Maybe they're willing to come a little bit lower. And then the other thing I'd ask about would be seller financing. If they want to take some financing, maybe we can do a creative deal, or either we don't need as much down, or they can negotiate a better interest rate, or maybe interest only while you're renovating the property. So the payment's significantly lower because you're only paying interest, but then you're basically not taking down the principal in the 2 years that you're renovating the property before refinancing. So that's probably what we'll end up doing for this property is putting an offer out at the 250, inquiring about seller financing, and just see if we can get some bites. So that's about it for deal number 2.